the two Raptors, right? You sure the third one's contained?
Yes. Unless they figured out how to open doors.
Raptor, be pure, take a tour through the sewer. The immortal words of Deborah Harry and her epic single... What? Oh, it's Rapture, not Raptor? Oh dear. Well, this is different. This is very different. Come, let us examine this vehicle together. Here's a question. What make is this vehicle? What company builds this truck? I don't know if you've noticed this, but the manufacturers like to make the name of their company bigger and bigger and bigger on their trucks. And this particular vehicle, which is the much touted Raptor R from Ford, it's an F-150 in there somewhere, mostly. They've really created a brand with the Raptor label, and the normal Raptor is a little bit milder version of this thing. This is your basic Mad Max Road Warrior version, or if you prefer, your desert racing full-on version, because it has all the additional things that crazy people have put on it anyway to make it more off-road capable and on-road inefficient, such as a 5.2 liter V8 engine that is supercharged and massive 37-inch tires on this thing. B.F. Goodrich's, as a matter of fact. But the Raptor is got more than that that differentiates it from both the regular Raptor and especially the regular F-150. Now, one thing it has in common is the Raptor is only available in the crew cab configuration that you see here. Now, naturally, F-150 you can get with an extended cab. I believe you can still, if you can find one, you can get it in a regular cab version. But the Raptor only comes, and the Raptor R included, only comes in a crew cab situation. And what does that mean? Well, it means it's not a regular situation for a work truck, because should you want to pull something like a fifth wheel trailer or something like that, you can't, because you got all that cab space back there, and a very small, that's a 5.5 foot bed, and it's fairly tidy in terms of its cargo capacity. The bed's nice and deep, but otherwise it's not a very big bed. So you got that. Then you also have something else that differs from the regular F-150, in that the rear suspension, well, the whole suspension is different, I should start out by saying, but the rear in particular abandons, jettisons if you will, the leaf spring, simple, elegant leaf spring setup on the regular F-150, and replaces it with a multi-link coil spring rear suspension. Now, why'd they do that? To improve towing or ride quality? Well, you could say ride quality as long as you're referring to ride quality over things like boulders and cactus, stuff like that you're going over at very high rate of speed, because that's what this thing is really designed for. It's designed to go through torturous conditions at speed. It has a very elaborate, which we'll get into, terrain control situation. And in addition to the normal four-wheel drive settings such as high and low, it also has an automatic setting. And it has just about every option that Ford makes for a truck, all wrapped into a cocoon of great performance. And we'll go through this piece by piece to let you see it, but understand, once we start this off, you are looking at, and I am talking about a truck that costs $112,000. So I'm always making fun of the Capstones and the GMC Sierra Denali Ultimates because their prices are so high. They're just a couple of punks compared to the price of this thing. And we'll get into that later because you have to see what all this cash will get you with your Raptor R. And we need to start, obviously, under the hood and have a look and have a little nostalgic trip with Mad Max. Keep your hands and your clothing away from the air intake. This is our air intake, and unlike the one that's sitting on top of the hood, which is non-functional, it's what we call cosmetic. That's where the air comes in, and there's your air cleaner. And we follow this around to our 5.2 liter V8 engine, and there is a supercharger. Now, as far as I know, I think that's it. I haven't been able to find a whole lot of detailed information about this. I thought at first, because a lot of superchargers on vehicles now are electric in origin. I believe this is mechanical, and I believe that's the belt that drives it. And I believe that because the plumbing for the coolant system drops into the block a little lower, and I'm assuming that's where the water pump is. So anyhow, this is your conventional type of blower, as we like to say in the supercharger realm, and differs, of course, from turbocharging in that it doesn't use exhaust gases to spin the impeller. It uses the engine itself and that belt driving it to spin the impeller. Unless it's electric, and I can't figure it out, which, as we all know, that's entirely possible. Now then, what are our numbers? Well, this particular 5.2 liter supercharged engine puts out 700 horsepower at a peak of 6,650 RPM. And what's your torque number? 640 pounds-feet at 4,250 RPM. Not the kind of low RPMs you'd expect or desire from turbocharging, but that's still not too lofty as far as your torque value is concerned. So we can see everything pretty clearly as to where everything is. And let's see, what kind of oil do we use? This uses kind of an unusual oil too. A 5W50 is the flavor. But as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's our cylinder bank there, 4 cylinders. And 1, 2, 3, 4, over there, there's the other ones. So in a lot of ways, this amazingly powerful engine is sort of straightforward because you can kind of see where everything's at. You don't have any intercoolers to the best of my knowledge. I don't think you ever intercool supercharged air, although it's possible that you might. I don't know. Like I say, I've had a difficult time finding information about this particular engine and with the kind of detail that I want. But so what else is new? It's 2023. But anyway, you can tell how dirty this engine is because previous journalists have been out playing in the mud, clearly, which is sort of what this thing is made for, although I would argue it's actually made for playing in the sand more than anything else. And we don't have a conventional looking koozie for our very generously sized battery, 12 volter, but it's a koozie nonetheless. And then we have our coolant reservoirs. There's one here, and this other one, well, look at there, I'm a liar. There's some definitely some coolant plumbing, it looks like, going into the intake manifold. So I guess it does actually cool that. So, well, it's the same reason that you would cool it as you do with a turbocharger, because whenever you compress air, it heats up. So there is a cooling pathway and a cooling system to go into the supercharging system. So, and naturally, does it make that cool whine that we all love? Yeah, it does. Of course it does. But there is your engine. There is your massive 700 horsepower engine that I had to use a step ladder in order to, you know, get up and have a look at it. I don't think it'd be the easiest thing to work on in the world, but you could work on it if you so desired. And now, let's look at some of the rest of this thing. because it all follows the engine in terms of extreme. So let's look at those wheels, shall we? Yes, wheels and tires. I have to stand so far away to get them all in the frame that I'm miles away. And as you can see, these are 12-inch all-terrain TA KO2s. The KO2 is, of course, kind of a famous BF Goodrich tire. Very, very popular with people because it's a very tough, durable tire. Kind of competes with the Falcon all-terrain W3s. Very similar to that. In fact, they look a lot alike. What else do we have here? Well, this right here is a bead. If you're not familiar with these things, and I'm not sure if that's cosmetic or not, but that is a bead holder. And what that does is if you lower your air pressure to do off-road work from, say, from 35 to like down to 18, so it'll crawl over rocks and go through sand and stuff like that, some tires have the propensity to pop off the rim if you hit a rock really hard at a speed faster than you should. So these make sure that the tire stays on the wheel and therefore protects you from a flat in that particular instance. Now, as you can see, there's massive brake calipers here, but the rotors themselves are made out of what they call nitro tough or tough nitro iron. That's what Ford likes to call it. They're very proud of those brakes, and they have ensconced this vehicle with all four wheels have that particular metallic toughness, so that if you are, I mean, let's face one thing right off the bat. This is a very heavy vehicle. The payload capacity is about 1345, I believe, 1,345, which is good compared to the Raptors of old. I remember having one of the original Raptors and the payload capacity was about 600 pounds. It would be a lot higher if it wasn't this crew cab, because that's including the weight of the passengers. And they're assuming that you're going to have passengers in that back seat, or tools that weigh a lot or something like that. But again, there's our tough nitro tough or whatever. Oh, by the way, while I'm here, you may be curious, what in the world kind of mileage does this thing get as far as the EPA is concerned? You're looking at 10 miles per gallon city, 15 highway, and a combined of 12. So yeah, it drinks gas by today's standards. And here, our little bed here, it's cute, I admit it. We have a spray-on bed liner, which is an option. And as you can see, it has a nice surface on it that's very grippy. And yeah, you could haul a lot of stuff back here, but not as much as like a 6.5 foot or a 8 foot. Or now here, you think this is just an ordinary tailgate, don't you? Oh, you're crazy. Look at here. Power assist, or just power period. You see? Neat, huh? Now let's do this. I want to get in the back, and I'm Dewey sized. Woo! There's our step. And if I need more assistance, look at here. This folds up like that. And then you press this button here. Oh, you don't have to press the button. You press the button to get rid of it. But there, look at that. It is a structure. An assist structure. Folds right out of the tailgate, even though the tailgate is several feet up in the air still. But you grab here, and step on that, and up you go. Now you're into the realm of the Raptor R bed area. And as usual, there's some provisions for some tie downs here and there. And what do we have here? Oh, there's our AC. I don't know what that is right off the bat, but I think it's actually a very healthy amount of electricity that you got. 400 watt minimum. It's probably more than that though, considerably more, I would think. You got your nice LED lights here. And then of course you got this camera back here, which we'll look at later, where you can look at study your cargo as you're motoring along. But it's a pretty nice little system here. And I'm going to use the assist, just like that. Push this down, like so. And then, hang on a minute. Stay with me. Let's do this together. There we go, it folds down, like so. slides right back in like so. And then this goes right back in here like so. Wow, look at there. It appears to be a normal tailgate again, but it's not. Oh no, because look what I can do here. Oh, what's this right here? That's a, for clamping. You can clamp things down there, and you actually have a ruler, both, both imperial and metric. Isn't that convenient? Cup holder. So it's a tough little surface that has all kinds of nice options to it. Now, if you want to lift it, but you're very weak and feeble, like Boots, lift it like so, and it picks it up for you. Like your own personal Jeeves, and lifts it up, and there you go. Now here's a peek. We're going to look at this in detail lately, but there is a full-size spare tire, which probably weighs about 1,000 pounds. And look at there, you can see them coil springs. This also has extremely expensive and elaborate shock absorbers, which we will also get into when we enter the suspension section of this video. But we also have these very stout. You know, a lot of the times these can be very deceptive. These running boards, because they look really strong, but they're not. These offer a lot of protection from rocks. They're very, very stout, stouter than most of what you see. And there's also all kinds of reinforcements underneath there. Half the story of this vehicle is actually underneath, because that's where they've done a lot of their work. But so there you go. Every part of the truck has been affected by the Raptor R package, in that it is made stronger, faster, tougher, more durable, and they even decided to throw in a little bit of luxury too. And I mean, come on, a power tailgate, that's a nice feature if you can afford it. Wow, what a potpourri of Raptorization. Have you ever seen well, you probably have. Well, maybe you haven't. Seen the steering wheel, it's got more stuff on it. I mean, my God, look at all the switches on this thing. This is your Raptor R inside, up close and personal. First, let's go to the instrument cluster. Now, one of the things Ford's done with their trucks, which is pretty much all they sell now, well, there's some SUVs in there too, is giving you, what we have is a virtual display, completely flat screen virtual display with all kinds of options as to how you can set it up for your personal edification. They are, of course, real big. I'm trying to get that glare out of there. The sun's coming out. How nice. Oops. Yep. What? Can we do this? Will that help? Yep. Oh. Yep. That's good. I'll have to hold it right there. What they've done is given you many choices. My View. Now, what is My View? Well, we got trip and fuel. Okay. That's up there. The trip one's up there. That's good. We go back. Now we go Raptor Info. What does this tell us? What's the status of our Raptor? Well, let's have a look. Oh, sorry, I went to tire pressure. Look at that. They're all perfect. 37-inch tires with 38 PSI in it. It'd be very easy to get that confused now, wouldn't it? All right, upward. First of all, let's go to the status here. And everything's normal, it looks like. For what I'm looking at is normal. Oops. Huh, that's interesting. So how do I look down? No, that's all of it. The off-road mode is off. Normal. Steering's normal. Shocks are normal. Exhaust is normal. You know, you can tune that exhaust as far as the supplemental addition that is done by the audio system in the truck, as if it's not loud enough already. You can even make it louder or quieter. I don't really think you can make it a lot quieter. Who wants that? But let's go to My Gauges, because this is one of the most important. Press OK to choose gauges. Well, this is the transmission temperature and oil pressure air charge temperature, transmission temperature, vacuum, and boost. Now that's what I am interested in. And how do I get over there? Let's see. I really like the vacuum boost most because that's kind of telling you what your well, I don't think it's going to let me do this. Power distribution, engine information, engine hours. Okay, we've seen that before. My gauges. Here we go. That's much better. Oil pressure. Don't really need that. Now, can we go down? Thank you. Transmission temperature. I'm not interested in that. Vacuum boost, I'm interested in that. Battery voltage, that's good. Air charge temperature, that might be interesting to see too. So then we basically, oops, there we go. We go okay, we go back, and here's some of our gauge instrumentation. Our so far the vacuum. There we go. It's just vacuuming instead of boosting at the moment. That of course would be the supercharger situation. And let's go back and back and back and back. So towing information, that's a whole nother area of trailer tire info. How does it do that? How does it know? You have to have a trailer obviously that has the tire monitor type valve stems on it, but if it does, then this vehicle can actually access that information, which is pretty cool. Trailer light status, also interesting. No trailer detected, but you can. That's one of the most useful features of the latest in modern trailer towing stuff. Driver assistance. What does this give us? That's just It can tell that I'm lying when I don't. I'm talking about towing because it knows I'm not towing anything at the moment. So you know it knows. So what other settings do we have? Configure gauges. That's what I've been looking for. Swap gauge position. No. Left selectable gauge. What will that let me have? Oh, I can put oil pressure, transmission temperature. Vacuum boost. I want that boost. That's what I want. No, not that. My fault. That's the one I want. And there it is. Okay. That's what I was trying to do all this time, is put our supercharger up there where I wanted to see it. Battery voltage and all the rest of this stuff. Yeah, okay. Well, enough of that. But you get the idea, right? You have all these adjustments, and this is one of the great things about the Raptor. And most of the Ford F-Series lineup of trucks is because they do give you a lot of different options. Especially, and some of these things can be incredibly valuable. If you're towing a trailer, it's hot and you're going up a grade, it can really help to get a temperature readout on your your transmission. So that way you're not overheating your transmission, and you're already going to have your regular temperature gauge that tells you the coolant temperature of the engine itself. But transmissions are often the ones that have problems in those kinds of circumstances, and so that's a very, very valuable thing to have. Now then, what else do we want to know? Well, I'd love to know how to change my mode. Well, let's just start pushing buttons. Lane keeping system on. Lane keeping system off. Good. I don't like lane keeping system. Here we have the shock absorbers, and we're currently sitting on normal. You can move that to, you can go to sport, and then you can go to off-road. We'll leave it at normal because we're being normal at the moment. What the heck is this? Exhaust. Oh my God, let's play with this. We're on normal. Now, how does that differ from off-road use only? What the heck is that? Is it get rid of your emissions or something? Quiet. Oh, listen to that difference. Wow. Oh, I love that. The quiet mode. And then normal, and then, okay, I tell you what, that's quiet. That's what we're going to leave that on right now. Look at that. It's like the engine's not running. Well, you can still hear it in here, trust me. So, Neat, huh? That's just a slight indication of all the different things you can choose from here. Now, what's this R thing do? If I press R, sport, comfort, normal, and sport. What? Sport something else? Maybe sport competition. And four-wheel drive automatic, and four-wheel drive shifting and process. What? And the idle just changed. What the hell just happened with that? I have no idea what just happened.
Why?
And then I go too fast. I go too fast. I did a flyby. No, give me that.
I'm having a hard time understanding you. Is it that? No. Huh. Well, we're still on four-wheel drive automatic, but I don't understand. Let's go over here. And it went up to the sport mode. So somebody has set it that way. There we go. Somebody set that particular custom mode on, and they like to hear their exhaust more because they're into that. So, all right, enough of that. I knew this was going to be one of the most insanely long looks at just the basic control output on this beastie because it's got so much stuff on it. I'm trying to go back here. What if I want to do, how do I get off of that? Oh, now it's done that. No. God, I don't like my mode. Go away. Put it in the car mode. That my mode. God, I tell you. There we go. I'm getting away from the settings thing because I don't want to. I'm trying to figure out how the hell do I get away from that. Like that. That's how you do it. Trip fuel. I'm going right where I want to be, which is trip 1. Good. I'm back to where I want to be. We've gone 86.4 miles on this tank, by the way, and we have a whopping 11.7 miles per gallon. And I've been fairly good with it. I haven't done anything too crazy or naughty. All right. Let's migrate to the right because we can play with another one of my favorite features. This screen, by the way, is huge, as you would probably expect. It's a huge truck with a huge interior, and it has a huge touchscreen. Now, here's our camera selection. Now, we have the 360 cameras. There's cameras all over everywhere. You press this here, and there's our selection. So this is like the 360 camera over there if I want to see just in front of me. Pardon all the rain. That's a bad thing about these cameras. They get wet. They don't work too good now, do they? All right. And this one's like a hemispherical front look of what's in front of us. It's especially good when you're driving off-road and you can't see the terrain very well. Very, very useful feature. Excellent feature. This is one of my favorites, and I've used it repeatedly. This is a view of what's in the bed, and I had some loose items back there, and I wanted to make sure they didn't get so loose that they went to flying all over the place. So that's extremely useful. And what's our last one over here? We can look down at our trailer hitch. We don't have a hitch in place, but it's a straight down. How it does that exactly is, I believe the camera on the tailgate itself is looking straight down at your hitch. Useful, useful, useful. Oops, there we are. And then finally is this a semi-regular backup camera right there. So that is one of the most useful features on any modern pickup, and naturally the Raptor's got all those cameras at your beck and call, which is brilliant. I really like that. Now let's talk about trailering for a minute, because we have our Pro Trailer Control here that can actually turn the vehicle to turn the trailer for you once everything is properly inputted into the system. You have that to help you steer your trailer backwards, which is outstanding if you're inept. But I still recommend, even if you have one of these systems, you learn to drive with your trailer. It's kind of important. And backing up, if you do some simple tricks and there's a lot of good YouTube videos actually to show you how to back up a trailer. Watch those, practice those. You're still the smartest thing in this truck, believe it or not. Even though there's more firepower than was on the original space shuttle in terms of computer ability, you're still smarter than it is. So, what else do we have? this is our trailer brake control. Trailer is disconnected, thank you. But that trailer brake control is actually, here's your steering wheel. That's not a bad location for it at all. It's very convenient, actually. Below that, we have our drive mode selector. As far as our four-wheel drive system goes, you can run it on just regular 2 high, or 4 high, or 4 low, and this is your differential lock right here. And you turn the mode here, and look at all the things it's doing here. Sport, normal. No, I don't want to do that. Baja. Baja has it, as a place, it has its very own thing. But look at this. Look at them tracks there. It's turning it. What if I do that? Look, I turn my front wheels, and it's turning along with me. Tell you where you're about to have an accident. For 4 low, shift to neutral. Yeah, I get that. But that is your mode selector, and this is rock crawl. And let's go all the way. Look at down here. Look at all these settings it's got on here. Normal, sport, tow haul, slippery. Slippery, where we've recently seen that? Oh yeah, on the Bronco Sport had slippery. So, we're back to there, And did they change the exhaust again? Yes, they went to normal with the exhaust. I mean, what the Sam Hill? There we go. I don't know what's going on with all that. Maybe that's, there's a huge muffler on this thing, which you're going to see shortly when we crawl underneath there. And maybe there's something going on with that muffler, that a lot of that is, some of it is using the audio system of the truck, but a lot of it is probably physical, mechanical on the actual exhaust system. So, what else do we have? Well, down here we have a fairly conventional climate control system. First of all, there's the radio, which is beautiful because you got regular knobs. They're kind of close together, which is different and interesting. But you have conventional knobs. I always applaud having conventional knobs with your radio because it can be so much more easy than poking around on the touch screen all the time. But here is your climate control, and naturally you have your temperature adjustment. You put it on dual, and it'll adjust both sides the same. And it's incredibly similar to pretty much everything else out there. One of the few areas of standardization that you will find, which is great. Heated steering wheel, heated seat, whee, ventilated seat. We're going to leave that ventilator on for a minute. But both the front seats have that ability to ventilate you. So that's this main stack here. This also is you can turn off your traction control. This is trail control enabled. Use set button to set speed. Trail 1 pedal drive available in 4 high or 4 low. Okay, that is your. That is, in other words, basically what I like to call that is off-road cruise control. A lot of vehicles have it, and it's an extremely useful thing to have. As far as that way, you can keep both your hands on the wheel and not worry about braking and accelerating with your feet. You can just go ahead and proceed, and it will. You can adjust the speed in very slow increments. So especially if you're doing something like rock crawling, very, very useful. What do we have down here? What's this trail turn assist? Well, what that does, this thing is about 6 miles long, and like I said, I'm not even taking this one off on a serious off-road course. Sorry about that, but I don't have any around here that will accommodate something this wide and this long where I normally go off-roading. So, but to help the fact that it is so long, you have the trail turn assistant right here, and what this does is it drags an outside or inside rear wheel when you're going around a corner to help pivot the vehicle. Does it make a huge difference? Not a huge difference, not as much as four-wheel steering, say, would, but it is a help. When you lock that one wheel, it can slide around, especially if you're in mud or something like that. It can help slide the vehicle around, which is very useful. Trail turn assist, we're going to turn that off. Thank you. Select a tile to save as your favorite. How did I end up there? Huh. So anyway, let's keep going aft, What do we have here? Well, I just made the shifter go away, and if you want to do that, then you can do this. and fold this down. And look there, you have a little work table here, which is kind of nice. I don't think it's real necessary, but it's there. Boy, that does seem kind of wonky. That frightens me in a way. But here's your shifter. Here is your manual mode right here, by the way, when you're in drive. And there are 10 speeds. Everybody seems to go with 10 speeds on their pickups now. And here are your huge, huge paddle shifters that appear to be some kind of alien spacecraft. But they're very conveniently located, even if you got gloves on. So, not much more there. Your charger is right there. Let's see if it works. Let's see, put my phone on there and see what happens. Hello. There we go. Ba-ding! Charging. Excellent. Very, very good. Oh, real-time range starting within 15 minutes. Check maps to track the... Oh, my God, another incoming storm. We've had a lot of those today. Okay, moving on. Very, very nice, generous, well, not really, average glove box. And what do we have in the way of seating? Well, very important when you have a rock and roll off-road vehicle, desert Baja racer vehicle thing. The support and everything else, look at that, Raptor Signatory. This is a kind of is it nubuck or is it leather? I think it's leather. Interior, Recaro. Yeah, these are black leather seats that have both smooth and rough leather, or rough, or also known as suede. And I didn't realize these were Recaros because they're actually a really nice, they don't have the super hardcore feel that most Recaros do. These are a little bit different. I think they're a little bit more accommodating for most people, but the bottom line is they're excellent. I mean, that's one of the things when you spend $112,000 on a pickup, you'd expect it to have good seats, and it does. These are excellent seats. Something else I like about your F-Series in general, and Ford's been doing this for a real long time, and I heartily approve, is if you'll notice something, there's a cutout here. They've been doing this, actually, I believe it may have started with the Super Duty back in the 90s. But when they put this cutout in here, they're able to mount the mirror lower so you can see over it and not have an accident. I mean, it's a real sharp, whoever came up with that at Ford, they should get some kind of a merit badge or an Academy Award or something, because that is such a simple and smart way to do things, because there's a lot of pickups out there to this day. They don't have this cutout, and the mirror's a little bit higher, and you can still see over it fine. It's not that big a deal, but this is better because it's lower, and you really do have a much better line of sight looking out. I really admire that about these Fords. That's a great move. So what? Oh, I forgot about up here. There's more switches. There's 75,000 switches on this vehicle. Up here here's our domies. We got a domie on each side there. That's very convenient for your use. This is a vent setting for our panorama up here. And this here's our shade. I could close that and open that at will. This right here is the rear window, the rear thing, I bet you. Yep. How about that? Very cool. Why it's up there instead of down here with the rest of the windows, I'm sure someone at Ford has a real good explanation for that. But, okay, so we got that. I've gone about as far as I can go. This does have about every type of safety technology known to man, or at least known to Ford, in terms of your adaptive cruise control, your lane keeping, which I pointed out earlier that I turned off. You've got so many different things. Now, what's this do? Oh, the steering. Normal, comfort, sport. Well, hell, we're going to leave that on sport. Whenever you tighten up the steering, it's always better. This thing does have a very busy ride, as you might expect, considering its capabilities. Another thing that's great, over here, we have a power tailgate, which I think I've gotten into before, and whatever. I'm not a big fan of that, but it's not. These tailgates are heavy. I just think you should just do what everybody else does and just damp them, put a little shock absorber damper in them, and they're easy for anybody to raise and lower. You can adjust your pedals. Why more cars don't have that, I don't know, because that is also a very, very useful feature to have. All right, folks, that's all the front seat. Oh, there's another one. It's like being in a Jeep. Look at all these auxiliary switches you have up here. That's all that you can wire in when you're wiring in your things, like your fog lights and your other fog lights and your additional lights and your winch and whatever the heck you want to put in here. And then you got the sunglass holder. So I feel like, you can leave no stone unturned on this incredible vehicle. Oh, and then of course there's the Bang & Olufsen sound system. And you got this right here for putting, well, you just caught like a bass, a little one, not a very big one, but enough for breakfast. You just set him right down there and and you can kind of solar smoke him if you want and leave it there. All right, you ready for the back seat? Because this is a 4-door. It's the only way you can get it. You can't get it in a regular cab or a super cab. You got to get the Super Crew Ford designation, and they give you no choice in the matter. So let's have a look. Oh, open this door. Well, who left all this crap in here? Was it you? No, it wasn't him. Quiet, dog. I'm trying to make a video here. You're not helping. Ugh. Yeah. That was some work I was doing the other day. But welcome to the back seat. It's a little dark. I apologize for that. Where's my dome lights? I'll turn them on. I'll turn everything on. Turn them all on. There we go. My apologies, but look at all the room here. See, I got room enough for my tool bag, for my Neos, my legs, my feet. As you would expect, this is a massive rear cab area. And we have heated seats, which is great. On the outboard positions only, of course. The inboard position here, I believe, is not heated. But that's fine. You'll be fine back here. But room is plentiful, and the windows go all the way down, right? Hell yeah, I knew they would. See, I did that without even knowing. I had faith. I had faith that they would do that. And look at, you can really tell these Recaros. These Recaros are a pretty, ooh, what's this? Somebody left a piece of trim in here, oops. You can tell when you get a vehicle like this with this price tag and you have the Recaro name, you know they're gonna be nice seats. And these are some of the best I've ever seen. They're just well made. Like, I mean, it's not like Recaro ever makes crappy seats. They always make excellent driving seats. I mean, oh, wait a minute. You know what? I can open this up some more, can't I? Let's look here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I can't find it. Why is it that? Is it that? It's this. There we go. All right, now we're going to open up the full power of the panorama. We got a little more light back here for you. There we go. So we have a 60-40, or almost, it looks like a 70-30, or maybe an 80-20 breakdown here of your seating. And what we'll find out in a minute, both of us together, what happens when you tilt, if you lift the bottom up or you tilt the top down. It's probably lift the bottom up situation. But the armrest is very comfortable. These seats are at a pretty decent rake. That's one of the things about the back seat of pickup trucks, whether they be compact or full size, that is often at kind of a weird position in terms of how the rake of the back is. And sometimes it feels a little cramped or weird, but these are fine. These are good, as you would expect. With all this cab room, I'm sure they put a lot of time and effort into getting that right. What else do you have for your folks back here? Well, you have your cup holders, and I mentioned the heated, and here you have a power port. No, I'm wrong. That looks like USB. That is USB. There's your power port. Oops. Oh, no, that's not a power port, ladies and gentlemen. That's a regular outlet with 400 watts. Very nice. So you can power a lot of stuff back here. Just plug it right in. You can put your blender back here. Somebody can be making margaritas as you're driving along, non-alcoholic, of course. And that's cool. That's very nice to have. I appreciate that effort. And your map lights are excellent. Dual LED map light bulb situation on there. You got your grab holds to help you into the vehicle, and also, since this thing's going to be flying down to Baja at 80 miles an hour over sand and cactus and jagged rock things, you want your passengers to be able to hold on for dear life, because they're going to have to. All right, now let's have a quick look and see what these seats do, because I think you probably have some serious space here. Yep. Oops, sorry. My fault. My bad. Yep, there you go. Well, this is not fitting properly because I have disarrayed it. But here's a nice slot where you can put your fishing rod or a pool cue or whatever. Right back there, your archery equipment. That's good. But anyway, there we go. So there we have it. That's your interior of your Raptor R. Very nicely done. Now let's head out. First impressions. Does it just swallow up these huge bumps? No, you feel every one of them. But you can go over them without hurting nothing. That's the point. Here, let's hit this rock right here. I skipped right over it. That's good. One of the things about this Raptor is everyone says God, if only it were bigger. Well, if only it had something taller, isn't it? I don't want to stream an audio device. Yeah, let's see if I can get this thing. No, don't connect it. Hang on, folks. I hate the fact that they demand to connect to your device.
Marianne Williamson.
How about shut up? God. Now, go down there and be quiet. Now let's try navigation again. There we go. It's leaving little breadcrumbs. Leaving little breadcrumbs to tell me where I've been, in case I don't know. All right then. We get to do a little Mad Max operation. Whenever you touch the gas on this thing, they all have that sound, supercharged engines. Can you hear all that? Ford has spent a lot of money to make sure you can hear all that. And as usual, the windshield wipers are, what the hell's on my windshield? It's like sap, I guess. Oh, great. They put the windshield wiper on the turn signal stalk because that's their way. But you'll notice I'm not saying that is the way. It's their way to do it. It's quiet. This is first impression. It's the first time I've had this out on the road. What kind of ride does it have? Kind of like what you'd expect of an off-road race truck with 37 mild high tires, 37 inch actually. You can feel the imperfections in the road. And you can always hear the engine, which a lot of people, that's very important to them. Oh, I know what I need to do here. Wait a minute. How do I do this? No, that's not how I do that. I'll figure it out when I get to the stop sign at the bottom of the hill. I want to open the panoramic roof to let some light in here, so I can share with you the massiveness of the everything. They should have made the steering wheel even bigger too. It should be like out about like this, because it's all designed. What was that about? Oh, I know what that was. Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, I know what that is. Okay. Let's have a look up here. All these, incidentally, these switches up here are all for auxiliary things. Here we go. There we are. So that if you desire, oh, here we go. Let's light her up. I can't hardly hear you for all the power. How many miles are on this thing? I wonder if it's been heavily abused. It's not acting like it, but I'm just curious. Let's see. 4,315 miles. You can do a lot of damage in 4,315 miles if you really put your mind to it. But we have all kinds of controllage here. Guys, why did that go through the sound system? Oh, that's because they want your phone. Every car you get in, every new car you get in wants to access your... If we ever have these implants in our brains that one certain Elon Musk is trying to get going in the... saying that they're trying to help disabled people to control no longer functioning limbs and stuff like that. But the fact is, it's all brain control. And the first thing that happens when you get in your car is it will scan you and figure out, and they'll say, well, I'm just looking for your preferences. It's interesting. It feels strange. It doesn't feel like a whisper smooth thing. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. That could be the pavement and the interface, but it doesn't feel like it's totally smooth like one might think it would be. Now, can I get gas here? A few days ago, everything was shrouded in red mystery. The thing about a vehicle like this is is it a slave to being a slave? Will it do your bidding no matter what? I have no idea if it will or not. But it does seem immune to most road irregularities. And I don't have much trouble with it. It seems tightly assembled. It does have a fairly long turning radius, though, which should surprise nobody, because it's a very long, large vehicle. And the thing about that is, for trail work, that's not good. It's also really wide, so it's not that kind of off-road vehicle. You're not going to be taking it into the depths of the forest unless you're going to spend all day spotting. Let's see what we can do here. Woo! Woohoo! Yeah, it absorbs bumps like that nicely, but overall, it's not really designed for civilian duty. This is more of a racer's truck. I would not recommend it for your basic daily driver situation, because it won't do that all that great. All right. Well, this is the truck with 10,000 modes. So let's push and turn. What is this doing? I want to go to, oh, you press that button. All right. Oh, you turn and push to lock the rear differential. I got you. All right, so now what we're doing is we're trying to save fuel. Futile. We're just on regular two-wheel drive now. You can do that if you want. It does have a 4 auto mode, and then naturally your 4 high and your 4 low, which are locked together, sort of like the way a part-time system is. And you have that rear locking differential, which is very useful in really slippery, terrible conditions. Wow, we're up to 9.2 miles per gallon, which is beautiful, beautiful. I'd ride home about that if I was the person who rode home. We have our very nice leather ensconced steering wheel. This is your center thing. I don't know why that's there. But we have that as a theme. We have one here, we have one over there, we have one over here. That must be the R designation, perhaps? Why is that on? Why are you on? There you go. It does feel wide. It doesn't feel wide as a Hummer H1 did, where you, yeah, I actually tested one of those many years ago. The military type H1, the real Hummer. And it's so wide that you couldn't get through. I wanted to go to the bank through the drive-thru. That wasn't a very good idea. It's a little too wide for that. This is a very wide vehicle. And correspondingly, it does help with stability because it does have a wheel at every corner of that width. And the nice part about it, there's certain countries where in America, I think you can't. Well, I think it actually changes from state to state, but you can put wheel offsets on there to have your wheels further out than they're actually designed to be. But that's never a good idea for a variety of reasons. One thing, it tends to spew stuff like gravel and whatever past the mud flaps and everything else and the fenders of the vehicle you're driving and onto other vehicles. And another thing is, it just puts it, from an engineering standpoint, it puts strain on things in a completely different way than they're designed to be. The loads, I'll put it this way, change on how they load the front suspension and the ball joints, A-arm, all that stuff. It's different. So you want to avoid that because that's not what it's engineered to do, and you will void your warranty, but there's safety concerns. And like a place like Australia, that's real illegal to do. I think they have a system that's pretty amazing. If you modify your off-road vehicle, your sport utility vehicle, your pickup or whatever, you put mods on it, I think it has to pass, oh boy, I'm just guessing now, but I think it has to pass like an annual inspection or something like that. And any modifications you make, they have to be acceptable, or they will not let you license your vehicle for road use. So, and it varies from state to state, but you can get away with a lot of stuff, as you've probably observed. The way some guys raise their vehicles 3, 4, 5 inches, put enormous tires on it. The good thing about the Raptor and the Raptor R is they're designed from the ground up to have this size suspension lift, these size tires, all of this is all engineered into the whole package, including when they do crash testing and everything else. So that's one of the reasons that it's never gonna feel, if you do it yourself, it's never gonna feel as tight as it is on this vehicle, because this vehicle was designed for it. And they in the process of doing that, of designing what they wanted to be the ultimate off-road F-150 pickup, they realized they had to change a lot of things, including they actually had to change the bodywork to make things work the way what the designers wanted and the engineers wanted, and to make it safe and street legal. Boy, every time you go up a hill, it's an adventure. It's like you look in your rearview mirror to see if the toe cutter or one of these other Mad Max villains is after you. The Lord Humongous, and he's coming up behind you. Ah! One of the things I loved about the supercharger on Mad Max's car is it was manually engaged, and it had a shifter right here, right about here, and you popped up. It's the same exact knob. If you've ever driven a 2.5 ton truck that has a 2-speed rear axle, which I used to drive, it's the same exact kind of thing. You just pop it up, and that would engage the supercharger. And then, of course, you got your nitrous oxide bottles that you twist that on too, so you end up around 1,000 horsepower out of your V8. Of course, back then in the apocalyptic days, there was so little fuel that you didn't want to do that too often, because a lot of that stuff that made the vehicle so fast was also kind of costly in terms of fuel consumption. But the last of the V8 Interceptors. And this is a actual V8. There aren't many of them left. And I don't know, as you may be aware, you can get a regularly non-supercharged 5.2 liter V8 engine from Ford for your F-150, but I don't know how different it is from this engine, because I imagine there's been some internal work done to this engine in order to ensure that it can handle the additional horsepower demands and torque. Let's not forget torque. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing could be the world's largest spare tire. There's a cable on here. I think this cable goes up in there somewhere. It's already starting to rust. Naughty. All right, here's the most interesting part of the Raptor series, and especially the Raptor R, is because our rear suspension is not your typical F-150 suspension, as I mentioned earlier, because here's that big old coil spring right there. Now, in the front part of this mount, I find this interesting. You have your shock absorber, which is protected, and it also has a servo on it that changes the. You have, I think, regular, firm, and regular, firm, and off-road are your settings that you can, from the comfort of your driver's seat, you can reach up and hit the information center and go into this menu and change the calibration of the shock absorbers on the fly, which is very pleasant. You have two links here that look like they're made out of that's interesting. Instead of a solid piece of metal, it's actually made out of a box of lighter metal. Now, why did they do that? Well, they probably did that in order to try to reduce unsprung weight while still delivering all the strength it needs. These things are so pretty much famous for being indestructible, or so we're told. And I assume there's probably some truth to that. It's a very, very rugged setup, to be sure. And so that's one link on the bottom. Up there you can see, where is it? I brought my device. What have I done with my device? Here it is. There we go. There's our top link right there. And again, it's that boxed metal as opposed to like a solid piece of metal that most of the other guys use that have a rear a multi-link rear suspension. But that joins up at the top, up in there, and this one joins right here. So that is your links on this side, and then you have your shock absorber in the front, and you have your coil spring in the back. Now here's your panhard rod right here. That's what this guy is right along here. And then you have your rear differential, and then you have on the other side the exact same setup. What surprises me is a lot of times you'll see staggered shock absorbers on leaf springs, but you won't see that usually on a multi-link setup because the rear axle is located by those links, and apparently some of the what used to be called rear shock stagger and everything else, when it would under hard acceleration it would bounce and do stuff. That's one of the reasons that you see on leaf spring setups they put the shock absorbers, one will be facing one direction and one will be facing the other direction in order to countermand that. So but that's not necessary with this type of suspension. Now, as you can see, there's a fair amount of travel involved, and then there's this big old thing up here that's basically, I swear, nothing disappears to wait. Well, I don't know what happened to it now. Well, anyway, there it is, right there. That huge bushing right there is designed to stop the rear axle from smashing into the frame when you're doing your airborne antics with this thinly disguised prep race vehicle. So there's that. There's a really massive looking muffler which has 3 pipes coming out of it, sort of. Well, one pipe goes into another pipe. Now, how did they come up with all that? Well, that's all designed to have the exhaust flow through there at a certain rate, in a certain way for optimal performance. Because once you get this far aft, and it could actually be about sound too. You're only looking at sound and performance. You're no longer looking at really any kind of emissions situation. So What else do we got to see? Well, one of the most important things we have to see is your frame, which, I found the device. Imagine that. What it's designed to do is locate your front and lower. These are your front control arms, of course, on your AA arm suspension. And it's designed to hold the whole vehicle together. And the body is then mounted on top of this fully boxed, very stout looking frame. And I'm sure it is very stout because, like I say, this is, everybody thinks everything on this truck is overbuilt. Who am I to argue? I don't think it probably would have a problem with frame cracking if you do a lot of rugged work with it, but it depends on what you're doing with it. I mean, this is, more than anything else, this is something that's designed to be driven fast over rough trails. And you got to remember, Ford is one of these companies that has a lot of experience with desert racing and just truck racing in general. So that particular division, the SVO, Special Vehicle Operations, yeah, SVO, they work into engineering those vehicles so they'll be reliable and win races. So they use a lot of that technology and a lot of the things they've learned on the racetrack. They transfer that over to a vehicle like this one. Now, one of the reasons this thing is so expensive is the fact that they spared no expense on stuff. And so they can use the top shelf components. They can take it's also this truck is undoubtedly more expensive to build than a regular 150, and that's where a lot of the price comes from. Now there's something interesting. This looks like it is a support unit. More than anything else, it's just designed to stiffen the frame because I don't see anything necessarily sitting on top of it. So I guess that's just a frame stiffening device that they put in later during the fabrication process. I guess that's interesting. Here's your massive fuel tank with naturally a skid plate on it. What's that made out of? That is made out of polycarbonate. That's what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing it now. And we'll go up front in a minute so you can see that, which I normally don't bother doing, but I will on this truck. But here you have your massive aluminum drive shaft. And again, strength with low weight. And despite all the low weight stuff they did on this truck, it still weighs 1 million pounds or something, or close to it. It's a very, very heavy vehicle. But it's very well made, as you can see. It's nice and tidy. You got tons of clearance, which you would expect with these 37-inch tires. And the ride quality is, I would describe it as pretty much as you would expect for a vehicle of this type, is that it's kind of jiggly, kind of busy, like all full-size trucks are these days. But it can handle the bigger the bump, the more impressive the ride quality. But in just that round town driving and that sort of thing, it rides like any other pickup. There's nothing special about it. And again, that's just part of the price you pay to have something that can do antics, off-road antics, leap around and do all kinds of stuff. All right, let's take a look up front now and see what we got up there. Oh, one other thing. I'm sorry. Did I actually show you this? Well, you can't see it clearly. But somewhere up in there are these massive, well, I know how I can show them to you. Let's go outside. I'll show you. There we are. It's just plain as day. But there's our, see on the top of your shock absorber. Here's the shock absorber itself. This is the reservoir for the shock absorber. As you can see, it is very well protected, as well as being a wonderful container of overheated fluid. I believe that's a Fox shock on there. Yes. But anyway, this right up here, this device, is what changes the calibration on the fly when you turn the switch. So it's also, I'm sure, got a potentiometer in there to tell you what in the world is going on with your shock absorber in terms of how much travel it's doing and that kind of thing, so that the suspension knows what is happening. All this goes into your EPU and all kinds of things happen. This is interesting up top too, because this is where your coil spring rides. And so there's a big seat right up here, this guy right here, to keep the coil spring. And on other vehicles like this, I don't remember seeing anything quite like this particular setup. Usually the coil might be mounted a little further in, I mean almost directly to the frame, as I recall on some of these other vehicles. But this one, it's staggered so far. This vehicle has a very, very wide track, wide stance, wider body. And so by putting the coil out further like that, you get a lot more stability off-road, and you're much less prone to get out of control. It helps keep you planted as to where you're going, okay? Now we'll go up front. Boy, I tell you, if you like aluminum, have I got a truck for you. First of all, we have our massive recovery hooks that are very stoutly attached directly to the frame. Then you got this massive aluminum skid plate and a smaller aluminum skid plate right there. And then your lower and upper, no, just your lower arm and your caster holder there, that's all made out of aluminum. Cast aluminum, formed aluminum, Mr. Aluminum, I'm not sure exactly, but you can also see our Fox shock up here. And another thing is, I was mentioning this before, look at the angle that this particular shock absorber, and of course it's a coilover shock design, so the coil and the shock are at a really, really staggered angle here, which is kind of unusual. You don't see a whole lot of that. But it's all, again, what I was talking about before, it's all designed to have things spread out as wide as possible, because there's numerous benefits to it being spread out like that, in the form of stability, especially since when you have something that's probably going to be driven at very high speeds on very uneven and unimproved terrain, this helps keep the vehicle under control at all times, which is, again, that's a lot of design stuff, and it's also proprietary towards these Raptor vehicles. There is your huge potentiometer and shifter thingy when you are calibrating your shock absorbers from the driver's seat, going from normal to sport to off-road. So anyway, that's just electric, click, click, and there you go. So this lower control arm is beautiful. They've been putting these kind of things on. It seems to me the original F-150 change back in, I want to say 2004. The original F-150s, they all had these aluminum lower control arms, and then later they went to stamped steel, I think for budgetary reasons. But naturally the Raptors still get, because you know they're Raptors and spared no expense. So there you go. Boy, there's all kinds of clicking and noise going on. It's contemplating running over me, I think. But here is a nice guard. This is primarily for your front differential, which you can see. Oh, I could do this. There we are. Hello, front differential. There's your half shaft. So like I said, look at the angle of that. I can't get over how dramatic that angle is. But it, for lack of a better term, it looks like it's splayed out. And it is. And that's what it's for. It's again, to aid stability. So there you go. Very, very well protected undercarriage. Tons of ground clearance. I think you'd be hard pressed to actually damage this on the trail, but I say that, and as the engineers at Ford know, people will find a way to do just that. And there's your suspension, the most interesting part of the Raptor R. Well, I tell you what, this is a real interesting truck. As you can see from your Monroney, it is loaded with all kinds of good things. What you may not be able to see from your Monroney is the price, because it wasn't on this non-saleable vehicle, but the base price was $75,775, and with options we came to $111,935. Hence the term $12,000, $112, which is what I said, because I rounded it up, because that's what I do. So anyway, the Raptor R in particular is a one-of-a-kind vehicle, and if you have the wherewithal financially and you have the need for such a ludicrous truck, your Ford dealer can set you up. Y'all be careful out there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Gesandt geworden, sein viel